Hello, I'm Joy Burns-Roger and welcome to your Government in Action. Thank you for joining us. From Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, called on world leaders to get real on addressing climate change issues. He was delivering the country's national statement at the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, in Egypt. Prime Minister Davis has been a leading voice in the region and in the international community with regards to climate change, its negative impact on Caribbean small island states, and on the responsibility of industrialized countries to compensate regional SIDS for the significant losses and damage they have had to endure as a result of the negative impacts of climate change. The Prime Minister's call came on November 8th as the country was preparing for the potential impacts of Tropical Storm Nicole. Carissa Williamson has this update.
Prime Minister Davis told delegates that small island developing states such as the Bahamas and the Caribbean are entering a new climate era that will drive extreme geopolitical and economic instability. Mr. Davis said COP27 provided small island developing states with an opportunity to have their voices heard so that industrialized countries could gain awareness of their dilemma and the need for compensation.
That's why we are here making the point that we can't do it alone. What our new reality is not as a result of what we would have done, but what the industrialized world would have done. And therefore they have to come to the rescue of small island development states such as ours, and that is the one voice that you're hearing throughout the theme here. All the leaders from the small island developing states are now joining the voice that something has to be done, and done now.
Prime Minister Davis told his audience that an increase in the frequency and ferocity of hurricanes has become the new reality of Caribbean small island developing states.
What I am concerned about is this existential threat, which is no longer a threat, but the reality of the intensity and frequency of hurricanes. And I've been reminded that as I was speaking, we were experiencing the high winds, the sea surges, and the rain and the flooding. I've been seeing the images, and my heart continues to go out for our people in times such as these. That is why our voices have to be heard, and at events such as these, so they have the reality of what's happening. And that's why I have to call on the world to get real about ensuring that loss and damage has to be compensated for. We do not have a significant carbon footprint in the world. Yes, we do have a significant carbon sink in the world, but yet still, after this hurricane has passed, who's going to have to pay for the recovery, reconstruction, and for normalizing the lives of my people? We have to, for the meager resources that we are able to earn.
Bahamian and regional climate change experts say the small islands of the Caribbean are already experiencing losses and damage as a result of tropical cyclones and sea level rise. With 22 million people in the Caribbean imperiled, projected climate and ocean-related changes are expected to negatively affect marine and land ecosystems, with the region anticipated to suffer significant economic and non-economic losses for decades to come. For your Government in Action, I'm Carissa Williamson.
Acting Prime Minister, the Honorable I. Chester Cooper, Thursday, November 10th, led a delegation of cabinet ministers, members of the official opposition, senior government officials, NEMA officials, and disaster risk reduction managers from New Providence to Abaco and Grand Bahama in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Nicole. The delegation was on the ground just hours after the all-clear was given by the Department of Meteorology, and civil aviation authorities had declared it safe for the response team to travel. Acting Prime Minister Cooper said the presence of the full team of the government officials in Abaco was an indication of the government's commitment to and support of all citizens of the Bahamas who may have been placed in vulnerable positions. Matt Mora tells us more.
Acting Prime Minister Cooper was accompanied by cabinet colleagues responsible for works and utilities, social services and urban development, national security, health and wellness, labor and immigration, and disaster risk reduction in the Office of the Prime Minister, and were joined on the ground by Parliamentary Secretaries Kirk Cornish and John Pinder. The acting Prime Minister's delegation also included initial damage assessment teams. Initial damage assessments are conducted in the immediate aftermath of a storm, hurricane, disaster, or a potential disaster to gauge the impacts of the event. These initial assessments provide government and disaster risk reduction managers and planners with vital information that jumpstarts the response and relief process.
During times like these, we come together. That's what we do as Bahamians. We rally together, we support each other. We remember our assignment to be our brother's keeper. And I think that's how we're able to persevere. That's what's keeping us strong and protected as a people working together. We always say we're stronger when we work together. So we saw that here. We'll continue to do some assessments, but so far so good. It looks that we have been spared from the worst of it.
The acting Prime Minister said while there is an additional need for investment in infrastructure, in addition to the port, and an ever-pressing need for more housing in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian in 2019, the administration has been making significant efforts through the Department of Housing to address the housing needs left behind in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. Acting Prime Minister Cooper also commented on the need for additional investments in infrastructure.
We've looked at some of the infrastructure here. There is need for some upgrades. Parliaments like Pinder and Cornish have pointed out the need for additional investment in infrastructure. In addition to the port, there is an ever-pressing need for more housing. We still have some government employees, civil servants who are living in the trailers nearby the government complex. We know that we've been making significant efforts through the Ministry of Housing, Department of Housing, and my colleague Colby Davis has been doing a great work to really do PPPs. But being here today and seeing the number of persons who still live in the trailers, really it's a reminder of the large quantity of housing required here, and the government will continue to put its efforts behind these initiatives. I think that's what's going to really catapult the growth, the regrowth, rebirth, the redevelopment of Abaco, is when we can find places for workers to live. People can return home, contribute positively to the overall economy.
The delegation ended its assessment of Abaco after more than 4 hours on the ground, bound for Freeport, Grand Bahama, where they were briefed on the findings of initial damage assessments conducted there. That exercise was headed by the Honorable Ygia Moxie, Minister for Grand Bahama. For Your Government in Action, I'm Matt Moore.
The Honorable I. Chester Cooper and his delegation continued on to Grand Bahama. Ladidra Marsh has that story.
Shortly after touching down in Grand Bahama from Abaco Thursday, Deputy Prime Minister Cooper, who was acting as Prime Minister while Prime Minister Davis is in Egypt, and the delegation assembled at the Emergency Operations Center in the C.A. Smith building, where they were updated by senior officials from various government and non-governmental entities. The delegation included cabinet ministers, senators, officials from the National Emergency Management Agency and the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, and members of the official opposition. Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ygia Moxie, who immediately went out into the communities with Senators James Turner and Kirkland Russell to conduct preliminary assessments, said she was happy that Grand Bahama was spared with the passage of Nicole. Minister Moxie stressed that the government is aware that there are a lot of needs in the community and there are so many people still suffering from Dorian.
We can say that Grand Bahama Island did well. Of course, there are always the issues of home repairs that are still ongoing. And I was hoping that Minister LaRota would already be here, but he's on his way. And we also have the issues of some of the sea walls that have been compromised. We also had flooding in some of the areas, and so drainage is key.
Minister Moxie assured that the government will be addressing those issues.
Just letting you know that I am confident that the government of the Bahamas is focused on ensuring that Grand Bahama Island recovers. Again, we've been through a lot, and we are truly focused on ensuring that our residents receive what they need in order to move forward.
Acting Prime Minister Cooper, while addressing the delegation along with members of the EOC, said he was happy that there was no loss of life or serious injuries in Abaco or Grand Bahama.
I am pleased to tell you that based on our observations in Abaco, we have fared very well there, and I am so pleased to once again proclaim that God is good. No serious injuries, no loss of life. I've had occasion to speak with the Minister for Grand Bahama earlier today, who gave a snapshot of the visits along with the honorable senators across the island of Grand Bahama, and I am delighted to hear that you've also fared very well in Grand Bahama. No serious injuries, no loss of life. And for that, I once again proclaim that God is good. So I bring you greetings today on behalf of Prime Minister Davis, who is working for us at the moment in Egypt. He sends his regards, he sends his best wishes.
The Deputy Prime Minister also thanked Leader of the Opposition, Michael Pintard, and the other opposition members of Parliament for being present in solidarity as it demonstrates to the country and to the world that the Bahamas has the ability to put aside its politics and press forward for the good of the country. And he acknowledged local government who assist the central government in managing the family islands and recognized everyone involved who helped in making things run smoothly while managing the crisis.
I was very pleased to hear everywhere I went in the country over the last few days how comforted people were that the communications were clear and the process was seemingly very well organized. I can tell you that that was not by chance. And I tip my hat to Minister LaRota, Captain Russell, and everybody involved in the process.
The delegation was briefed on the flooding taking place in parts of Grand Bahama, the removal of debris, evacuations from East Grand Bahama, and the number of residents who utilized the shelters. Acting Prime Minister Cooper revealed that his and the delegates' presence was to demonstrate the government's commitment, not just in words, but with the resources and assets of the government.
We are here to stand with you to show you that we recognize that even since Hurricane Dorian, there is still much work to do with your infrastructure, with the care of our people, with the attention that's needed towards the mental health of our citizens, and the ongoing growth and development of the island of Grand Bahama.
For Your Government in Action, I'm Ladidra Marsh.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. The Women's Suffrage Movement 60th anniversary launched for the Ministry of Social Services Department of Gender and Family Affairs earlier this month. November is the national month of building and strengthening the family unit. It is being celebrated with a number of events under the theme Propelling Men, Women, Girls, and Boys Towards Purpose and Prosperity in Pursuit of Economic Empowerment for the Family. One such event held was a women's suffrage exhibition on Sunday, November 6, 2022 at Rawson Square, celebrating 60 years since women voted, which was attended by notable women of the community and viewed by a very appreciative crowd. Minister Obi Wilshcombe was on hand to address the launch ceremony.
It's certainly an honor to be the only man speaking today among all these beautiful women and to listen to the incredible stories and to reflect on that time in our history, the time in our history that could be best described as a tapestry of faith and love. Faith in our God, love for our country, love for ourselves. It is so wonderful to see the individuals who've made history in our nation. I heard them speak earlier today about my good friend and colleague now, Ms. Higgs. It's so good to see you. Many don't remember this young lady or don't remember the story of when we won Carifta the very first time. It was you who carried the Bahamas in that very last race on your back. We won the games because of her, and I could tell you a story. The following morning, Dame Marguerite was in Exuma for the regatta, and she called because she was so excited of how you performed. I was excited because I had the privilege of calling the race on the radio. So it's so good to see you. The story is, of course, a foundation. You were setting the foundation upon which people like Davis, Thompson would later follow. And Pauline would go on to win Olympic gold medal, become an international representative, and do so much for our country. But I remember, Pauline, when you didn't have sprints. I remember when Neville Wisdom, and I remember when Sir Lyndon Pinling caused for you to be in the United States and created a program that people like you could earn some money while you prepared yourselves for what was coming. The journey that you traveled to get where you are. And that is why it's imperative for us to understand the foundation upon which we stand. It didn't happen overnight. It happened because of sacrifice.
The Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation has signed a memorandum of understanding with Milo B. Butler and Sons Limited to market the offerings of Bahamian producers. A ceremony was held to commemorate the partnership at BAIC headquarters on Old Trail Road on Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. BAIC Chairman Leroy Major said that this move is a game changer for locally made products.
This is the realization of yet another of the corporation's long list of projects, which forms a part of the government's sustainable development goals and mandate towards the achievement of food security and food sustainability for the country. BAIC is delighted to form this partnership with Milo Butler and Son, a leading wholesale agency which has been providing quality products and service for the Bahamian community for more than 50 years. Milo Butler and Sons is the only black-owned distributor business in the country. It is in the capable hands of the third generation of Butlers, descendants of Sir Milo Butler, the first Governor General following the independence of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It was April of this year that BAIC Food Processing Unit, led by Ms. Tonja Burrows, and BAIC team organized an event called Taste and Tell, which brought together scores of food processors from New Providence and the Family Islands, who connected with representatives from wholesale and retail food distributing companies chefs of hotels and local restaurants, and members of the public, who were able to sample and critique a variety of jams, jellies, sauces, drinks, and other condiments like comforter batters, cassava flour, peanut butter, and Bahamian-made wines. It was indeed a red-letter day for BAIC and food processors. Taste and Tell was the catalyst for this development, for this relationship, and for the realization of the commitment to see Bahamian products on the shelves of food stores in the Bahamas. The signing of this memorandum marks a culmination of months of negotiation to arrive at this mutual agreement and understanding for Marla Butler and Sons to become the primary distributor and access point to the Bahamian market for goods produced, grown, manufactured by food processors who are clients of BAIC. Some of them are present here this evening. Marla Butler and Son will purchase products from a list of BAIC approved food processors who will sell the products through its established distribution network at wholesale and retail levels. This public-private partnership collaboration, the first for BAIC, will afford the corporation the opportunity to continue to train and encourage more food processors throughout the islands of the Bahamas to produce more quality products as Marla Butler and Sons utilizes its existing sales and distribution channels, providing adequate storage facilities for perishable and non-perishable goods. Marla Butler and Son will also utilize its marketing machinery to continuously promote such goods to the general public. Marla Butler and Son, this memorandum of understanding will also help to create a buyer's market for food processors as BAIC continues to work towards sustainability practices at the domestic level and to help reduce the country's heavy dependency on imports.
Chairman of Milo B. Butler and Sons Limited, Javon Butler, extended gratitude to the government for partnering with the company. He said this partnership is especially timely as the country heads into 50 years of independence.
I would wish to extend sincere thanks and gratitude to the Executive Chairman, Mr. Leroy Major, Mr. Troy Sampson, General Manager, and the entire Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation body for entering into this agreement. As the Bahamas is on the road to its 50th anniversary of independence, our country has made great strides in the tourism, financial services, real estates, and most recently, fintech sectors. However, one of the ongoing challenges that the country continues to face is food security and sustainability. The COVID pandemic and now the war in Eastern Europe have acted as a clarion call for Bahamians to become more involved in agriculture, with the emergence of more individuals engaging in backyard farming at a micro level, as well as local processes, and such as BAIC also engaging more individuals to grow produce, along with their local processing, and the manufacturing of spices, peppers, soaps, and cleaning items at that local level. In analyzing our business model, Marla Butler & Sons recognizes that our company is heavily dependent on imports, as are other food and dry good wholesalers and retailers, as economies of scale have made it cheaper to import and resell goods to the public rather than fully embrace local farmers, fishermen, and manufacturers. At the beginning of our fiscal year 2022-2023, a conscientious decision was taken by the Board of Directors, requiring that 25% of products sold by Marla Butler & Sons Limited are Bahamian grown, produced, and manufactured within the next 3 years. With this memorandum of understanding, we hope that we can increase that number in a shorter period of time. The decision would not yield the traditional returns in the short term, but would help to reduce the cost of living for Bahamians over the medium to long term, while encouraging more Bahamians to become entrepreneurs in agriculture and the manufacturing sectors. One of the great challenges small to medium-sized businesses experience is access to buyers' markets. Thus, our partnership with BAIC allows the corporation and its direct clients access to an existing distribution network combined with a strong sales channel throughout the country. Milo Butler & Sons takes great pride in facilitating the growth of locally grown and manufactured products, encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit that lies within most Bahamians. Through the use of respective agricultural commodity traders, experts in the field, digital platforms and currencies, strategic partnerships throughout the Family Islands and New Providence, and involvement with investors who are keenly interested in supporting the growth and expansion of agriculture throughout the Bahamas, I strongly feel and believe that collectively, this opportunity presents itself for us as a nation to supply ourselves with food and other goods. Recognizing that there have been efforts in the past to establish a robust local agricultural sector, Milo Butler & Sons Limited will lean heavily on the guidance and advice of Mr. Major and his team. Our intent is to provide our years of experience in distribution and sales and marketing to the mix. Like farming, it will take time to yield the returns anticipated. But today, being All Saints' Day, this is the perfect time to place the first seed in the ground.
The Department of Immigration under the Ministry of Labor and Immigration had a passing out ceremony Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 for 169 recruits at the Royal Bahamas Police Force Training College under the theme Reset, Refocus, Realigned, and Fully Equipped to Fulfill Our Mandate. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, was in attendance and addressed the cohort.
After 4 months of rigorous training, you brave young women and men have completed the training exercise and are today the newest recruits of the Bahamas Department of Immigration. Today, you are on display for the Bahamas to see. Indeed, you have all come a mighty long way and ought to be very proud of your achievements. We are all here today to celebrate this milestone with you. This is a historic occasion, and it is so on several levels. Squad 2022, you are the first immigration graduating class of this administration, with a class of 169. You are the largest recruits assembled, nearly 3 times the size of previous courses. Most importantly, you are the first class to graduate under the leadership of our new Immigration Director, Mrs. Keturah Ferguson. She is only the second female director appointed in the Department of Immigration's 83-year history. And I'm advised that the first woman is here present with us. Is Barbara here? Yes. Barbara Pear. Glad to see you, Barbara. Therefore, we have the highest expectations of every one of you. I wish to impress upon you the significance of immigration officers to our country's sovereignty and stability. By now, I'm sure you've heard many times that you are responsible for protecting our borders. As we look forward to the Bahamas' 50th independence anniversary, your role is even more crucial in our nation's history.
Director of Immigration Keturah Ferguson congratulated the recruits and told them to strive to make the best of their decision to be immigration officers by remaining reset, refocused, and realigned. Minister of Labor and Immigration, the Honorable Keith Bell, told the recruits they are the smartest and most diverse group and to remain honest and strong in integrity.
That is all for this week. Thank you for joining us. Please do join us again next week for another edition of Your Government in Action. I'm your host, Joy Burns-Roger. Good evening.